Tom Hassan, and I'm SYA's president. You'll find me today in our home office, which is in North Andover, Massachusetts. And this is the first of two webinars that we're going to be doing with your group. Today's is really trying for you to get to know the faculty and a little bit more about the program and how you can prepare yourself for the adventure that lies ahead. And the second webinar will be at the end of August. And that one will talk specifically about departures and how that will work and what will happen once you get into country in the first few days. So let me begin today's webinar by introducing some of my colleagues who are here with me in the home office. And I'm going to have them wave so you get a chance to put a face with a name that you probably heard already. One is Grace Sarabia. And Grace wears two important hats at SYA. One is that she is the registrar, so you probably have questions about courses and transcripts and things like that. Grace is the person to reach out to. She also works very closely on our health and safety matters. And as you know, that is topmost in our minds at all times to make sure that you have a very safe and healthy experience while you're overseas with SYA. So thank you, Grace. Also is Maggie Bland in the admissions office.
Hi, everyone.
And Maggie has actually, she and her colleagues in admissions have moved from reading your wonderful files, admitting you and cheering when you have said yes that you're coming to SYA. And now they're working on the visa issues. And later on in the program, she may have a word or two about that for you. And the third person is Jen Soderberg.
Hello.
And Jen is someone who's in our office who's going to meet you for those heading over on the JFK flight at the end of August. She will be there and accompanying that group over and spend some days with you in orientation and then come back to the home office. So those are my colleagues here. I will soon introduce Pat Scanlon, who's the resident director in Italy. But before I do, let me make just a few comments to you. One is just to remind people that SYA has been in existence for almost 60 years. And like your sending schools, is a very top flight academic institution. So you're about ready to journey for your sophomore, junior, or senior year, but it's going to have the high academic standards that you're used to. So, and you're going to meet some wonderful people who will make sure you have that great academic experience and social experience as well. We are also like your schools in that we have rules and regulations, and we'll explain those to you throughout the beginning days, but also here. And just want to make sure that we're all living comfortably, safely together, and that's why we have those rules. That all said, I bet you we're going to be different than your current school by two major factors. One is that we love getting you out of your seats. So, and once a week, you'll have a field work day when you can really experience what's locally and even beyond Viterbo. So we really want to use the place to really reinforce your language learning. And the other thing that's so special about SYA is the host family experience. And so you really get a chance to feel and understand the language and the culture through just living with your host family, which is a great experience. And I know Ann Gray's on this, and when I was over in Viterbo this spring, I had dinner with her and her host family, and it was just a lovely thing to watch, that close bond that students and their host families have. So you'll hear more about that today. And finally, before I introduce Mr. Scanlon, I just want to give you one piece of advice that my daughter, when the pandemic hit, she moved back home. And so I thought to myself, wow, I have someone built in who can help me with my tech stuff and all of this other stuff. And she looked at me when I started asking her and said, Dad, I'm going to tell you two words. And I said, what's that? She goes, struggle time. So what I want you to do is think about struggle time, because what that means is that you got to kind of do it on your own and figure it out. And you feel so much better for having that struggle time. And so SYA is about a little bit of struggle time, that you're going to get to know the language and new people. And at moments it's going to be, wow, this is I'm really learning, and that can cause some anxiety, some struggle. But when you get on the other side of it, there's nothing better in this world. So with that introduction, I'm going to turn to Mr. Scanlon and just say, when I was over in Italy, we celebrated the 20th anniversary of Italy campus being in Viterbo, and it was a wonderful outpouring of connection of the town and the school. And we honored Mr. Scanlon because he is our longest serving resident director in SYA's history. So with that, thanks, and that introduction, Mr. Scanlon.
Well, thank you, Tom, and benvenuti a tutti, as we say here. Welcome to everyone. It's the way time is moving right now. It's hard to believe that we're already at this point. But on behalf of everybody, I want to say how excited we are to see you all. We can't wait to meet you. And we will provide a very stimulating, very exciting, and in some ways very challenging year for you, or semester. And the summer will go by quickly. About a third of it already has. So it will be very soon that we'll be meeting you in person, and we can't wait. I would like to introduce you, or have the faculty and staff introduce themselves to you right now. If you want to go to speaker view, Zoom will take care of the person talking, and then we'll illuminate who it is that's introducing themselves. But we have everybody who will be on our faculty and staff next year currently on this call, who are eager to meet you. And if you want to get a quick introduction, you'll go to speaker view. That way you don't have to scroll past the pages. So Ale, vuoi cominciare?
Eccomi. Ciao ragazzi, io sono Alessandra Tuzzi. I will be your teacher of Italian language and culture, and I can't wait to see you. Non vedo l'ora di vedervi. Ciao.
Santo.
Buonasera a tutti. My name is Santo Sammartino. I am the classics teacher, which means ancient history through art, Latin and Greek. And I'm also can't wait to meet you all in August. Ciao.
Ro.
Buonasera a tutti, io sono Roberta Barancini. I am the administrative assistant at School Year Abroad, and I've been there since 2003. And like everybody else, I really can't wait to see you all and welcome you all in a few weeks' time.
Eleonora?
Eccomi. Ciao ragazzi, I'm Eleonora Trucca, the host family coordinator. I have been also a host mom, and I have hosted 15 kids. I can't wait to see you in Viterbo. Ciao.
Dave?
I think I'm next up.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Dave Lutchner. I've basically headed the extracurricular department. I've been with SYA since 2005. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you all. And I have this lucky role of being able to kind of take care of the fun side outside of SYA, apart from the scholastic side, to kind of link everything with your connection with the community and the language, and really getting you out there and making the most of this opportunity. So can't wait to meet you all. Take care, everyone, and we'll speak soon, okay?
Daniele?
Eccomi.
Daniele. Ecco.
Sì. Ciao ragazzi. I'm here in Viterbo. We are in this beautiful piazza, and then I'm Daniele Gatti, global teacher, and I'm very happy, to be, your teacher for next year. So I look forward to seeing all you guys in Viterbo, and then enjoy your summer for now, and I'll see you in September. Ciao.
Ciao, everybody. I'm Dr. Warren Turner. I'm your math teacher next year. I teach all of the sections of math. I've been with SYA 2 times. This is my 5th year during the 2nd time. So it's my 7th year overall with SYA Italy. I live in Italy in Viterbo with my wife and our 4 cats. And we are really looking forward to meeting you. It's sounding like a broken record, but we all really are. So see you in a couple of months.
Linda, you're on mute.
Buongiorno a tutti. I'm Linda Scanlon, and I team teach the agroecology class, the science class, with Professor Scanlon. And it's a wonderful class. We go through all of the foods, take you down into the science behind those foods, but also give you a lot of practical knowledge. So can't wait to share all this information with you and just share the adventure of your being here with us. So look forward to seeing you.
Ciao, io sono Erika or Miss Nuccio. I will be your experiential teacher. So I can't wait to have you all here to have a wonderful experience. Ciao.
Hi, I'm Ned Henningsen. I have the pleasure and privilege of being your English teacher next year. I actually did SYA Italy my junior year back in 2004, so I've kind of been in your shoes before. I feel like I've continued my SYA journey long after that. I spent a couple more years in Italy in my early 20s, and I worked on the SYA admissions team before becoming a teacher. Ciao a tutti. It's exciting, a bit surreal to finally be Zoom meeting you. I guess I just wanted to say, and you'll hear a lot more from me, working to turn Italy into a second home alongside others has definitely been one of the most exciting and rewarding pursuits of my life. And I know that it can be that for all of you as well. And I'm just really looking forward to actually meeting you in person and to teaching the class that's so interwoven with your study abroad experience. So take care. Until then, ci vediamo presto.
Ciao a tutti, eccomi. Ciao a tutti, sono Andre Oxrider. I was an SYA Italy full-year student this past 2022 school year. It is such a pleasure to be on this webinar with you guys because I'm sitting in the exact same spot that I was a year ago today. And so I know exactly what you guys are feeling and you're so eager for the year ahead. So I'm so excited for you.
And Andre, I'm going to keep you on just really quickly because I want to have you speak to a couple of questions that I think almost everybody has on their minds and that you can speak to way better than we can. What is the advice you would have for living with a brand new family that you don't know?
First, go all in. It's the best. It's part of the experience. For me, it was the best part, one of the best parts of the experience. You learn so much being with a host family. You wake up in the morning, you hear Italian. If you have my host mother, she was texting me all throughout the day. And then you go to sleep and you're saying goodnight to them in Italian. So you need to just be ready to be all in with them. They're such an important part of learning the language. And everything, and they're just as excited as you are to be with them. So it's great. It's nerve-wracking at first, for sure, living with some people you don't really know, but if you're all in like 2 weeks, you're family, you're instantly family, and it's perfect.
And part of that was, I feel that you really took our advice, recommendations seriously and connected with them and disconnected from home. What was your strategy? How did it work? What did it feel like?
Yeah, well, so it's funny enough because last September when we came, my parents actually were in Italy as well for a delayed trip because of COVID. And so there was a lot of talk about whether or not they were going to come to Viterbo the first 2 weeks I was there and see me, see my host family, see the school. But then I decided, and we had a conversation, and I said, I actually don't want you to come. I'm supposed to be figuring this out on my own. This is my independence, my beginning of my immersion. And so that was like hard, of course, to disconnect from your parents and not speak to them for the first 2 weeks. And the school, I know, advises parents to try to disconnect, and children try to disconnect as well from your parents. That was hard, but looking back at that is really why I fully immersed and got into that, because I was all in with my life in Viterbo, my family, my new friends, my new peers, and that helped 102% being disconnected. So.
Grazie, grazie tante. In fact, we watched that work really, really well for you and others who got really connected quite quickly because you took that advice. It might have been the struggle time that Mr. Hassan was talking about, but if it was, you didn't show it very much. I will put it that way. A couple of things that are incredibly exciting is that 3 times during the year, twice in the spring and once in the fall, we move our school to another city. And a lot of things that we do at school then happen in another context. So Mr. Hassan talked about the fact that learning in this context, our mission tells us that we should use our place as much as possible. But that gets kind of familiar to you, believe it or not. And then we take and have you transfer a lot of the skills to other places. And so there are school trips are not really school trips. We take and move the school, which will mean that you would have math and English on those trips unless you manage yourself well and get them done before you go. I put it that way because I think the strength of our school is helping you become independent and organized managers of your time and your things. And the challenge is doing it in a new context, in a new language, in a new culture. But the trips, quick summary of the trips and what they did for you, and great, because I think that your perspective on that is, but moving the school and what that was like for you, how you managed it, what you did, what you remember.
Yeah, the school trips were so much fun. It's a lot of that hands-on learning that the school talks about. You go up and you go visit a museum that you talk about in the class beforehand, and you get to see the artwork, which is so amazing. I personally really enjoyed our Sicily trip that we did towards the end of the year. And that was another great way of learning about the food and the culture and seeing the different dialects and seeing the difference between Southern Italy and Northern Italy or near Rome. So I really benefited from being with the school in those aspects and those circumstances, and them helping us navigate how to deeper dive into learning that part of the culture. And so I really enjoyed those trips. How could you not? You're packing up and going visiting a different part of Italy as part of your school week. So yeah, those were really
super helpful. Grazie. I know that
also for language, those were really helpful.
You were smiles the whole time, and so I know that. And Sicily was pretty remarkable this year. There was a question: how long are they? They vary from 4 days to 10, and we're going to have the calendar to you in the next couple of days that shows exactly when those moving the school events occur during the year. So I'd like to also say that the biggest privilege that you can earn at SYA is the ability to do independent travel. I'm going to define independent travel for you right here. And independent travel is when you as a student travel without the accompaniment of the school and without the accompaniment of your host family. So if you ever travel under any other circumstances, you are conducting independent travel. We're going to talk about that in depth in the fall, but that is a huge, huge deal. It's a huge privilege, and it has a lot to do with your academic standing, your goodwill progress and effort in learning the language, and a whole lot of steps that you must take that demonstrate you have the ability to keep yourself safe and you make good choices. Inevitably, that will require the signature of your parents, who will sign each individual travel that you take. The first one in the first semester is not available until early December. And for spring students, there is a commensurate amount of time in the spring, because we need to see the progress that you make in terms of those things that I just talked about. All of them designed for safety and to ensure your ability to benefit from that travel, and to demonstrate that you will be safe and that you will know how to make yourself safe in the event that something happens. Safety is our number one concern and priority. I hope that you feel good about that. I can say with certainty that it is what students have done that they enjoy a great deal. And Greg, maybe a comment about independent travel? Something you might have done or some of your friends did?
Well, my friends and I, well, first, make sure you stay on top of your Il Passaporto, which grants you the permission to do the independent travel. You don't want to fall back on that, because you're going to want to be eager and go take that opportunity to independent travel. My friends and I, we were in a friend group, and we'd always go travel together, because you can't travel alone. Mai da sola, I still hear Mr. Scanlon and Sammartino and Miss Nuccio saying Mai da sola, which means never alone. So even when you're on independent travel, you can never be alone, but you want to be with your friends. We went all over the place. I went to Milan and Torino, Verona, Venezia per Carnevale, which is so much fun. So we went all over, which was a great way to also learn the language and just see all of Italy. So.
Thank you. And let me answer a couple of quick questions. Sophomores and juniors, different restrictions on travel? No. Same requirements. And I will say that there is one sort of tricky part of this in Italy and in all of Europe. I believe that minors are not able to stay in hotels overnight without the express permission of their legal guardians. That would, in that case, it's not me, and we have a procedure for that, but even some hotels simply won't allow it. So we haven't had any students not able to go because of that, because they'll find other accommodations if that's a problem, and the mechanism for finding that out happens ahead of time. Will the kids have to share their locations in real time, like Life 360 when they are traveling? Our requirement is that they must be reachable at all times if I call. That would be really pretty difficult to be monitoring if we have 12 kids out. And it's a really good question and something I kind of like as an idea, but we really emphasize being in touch. Now, you students in your generation don't love using your telephone. You like texting, you like your apps. We really emphasize texting because it gives us that 360 when we need it. I might call at 11. I'm not going to call as necessarily as a test, but I may have to call you at 11 or 10 a.m. and I may need to reach you. We have had, I've had to deliver information from your parents and things like that, so I must be able to reach you. Fine, yeah. We can talk about the more specifics of that later in an individual cases. But Tom, there is a question about traveling internationally. Can you take that question?
Sure. In fact, I was just going to piggyback on what you were saying, Pat, for 1 second, which is prior to the students doing the independent travel, they need to have a full-blown itinerary that is approved by their parents back in the U.S. and as well as the team over in Italy. So that there's a lot of planning involved in this, and we want to make sure it's detailed and things are a-okay. Question about international travel. We only allow independent travel within the country where the student is, but at the holiday time, if they need to meet up with parents or relatives, we allow them to go outside the country, but then they are in the care of their relatives.
So I'm gonna move on, and I know that independent travel could take the entire time. We'll talk about that a great deal in the fall. I want to emphasize how you can do it, which is starting with the language. We are fundamentally a language school, and we believe what we do better than anybody else on earth. And the progress that our students made, even though Andrea is talking to you in English, she could be speaking to you in Italian tonight. She could not have been speaking to you at all in Italian 365 days ago. And that's a pretty remarkable testament to what we're able to do, not simply because you're here, but because we have you engage in the community, have you engage with your family, that you cannot learn this language passively. But there are some things that we have found will really help you. And when we talk to our students upon leaving, they say to us, I wish I had learned more before I got here. And there are a couple of ways that you can get a head start if you haven't done so already. We've had students that have had private lessons, that we've had students that have a relative, but there's an app out there that you may be familiar with, and I've asked Mr. Sammartino and Mrs. Scanlon to say a word about Duolingo.
Santo, vai primo?
Vuoi iniziare tu, Linda? Vai.
Okay, va bene. Okay, so there's an app, Duolingo, and it's a little green owl, if you can see here. And I've personally been using it to learn Greek in the last 500 and some days. And when there was COVID going on, and it also has all sorts of languages. It's a free app, but you can also pay a little bit more to get the professional version, which simply means you can make more mistakes. Not a big deal. So if I go into Italian, I can choose the language and I can continue. And then it starts out again asking how are you learning for the first time? Do you already know some Italian? And it lets you take a small test to be able to understand where you are with your Italian. And what's nice about this is that just with 5 minutes a day, you can start learning words. You can get familiar with the audio, with hearing it, because what's important is when you see a word, you may not know how it's pronounced. So with Duolingo, you have the actual audio that goes along with that. And then it also keeps track of how much you learn. You have competition with other people and you see where you rank. There are different groups of people. So you can just keep track of your ranking. And you again, if you pay for the app, you can get away with a bit more. But if you simply use the app every day, you can use it for free, and you can keep a running streak going so that you can see that you go for 20 days again. I'm up upwards of 520 days of going straight on with using it. So Santo, let me turn over to you and
yeah.
see what
I also used Duolingo with other languages, and I like it very much. You can like it, you can dislike it, but it's a wonderful opportunity. As Mrs. Scanlon said, it's free and it's very intuitive. Okay, you can start from zero, and it exercises all the 4 skills that you actually need. And also, what I really like, it is like a game. So there is a competition, and you can see your mistake. The app is very well presented, and even though you might not feel progress in the beginning, it takes a while. Okay, it takes a while until you actually understand what you've done. This is it for a language learning in general, but Duolingo in particular. So just keep on, and if you can finish it by the end of the summer, that would be just wonderful. It is doable. Okay.
And actually, two things that if you get the paid version, you get to make more mistakes. I think that's really kind of metaphorical.
But sorry,
yeah.
On the other hand, I like the not paid version because you oblige not to make mistake in order to go forward. Okay, so you have to be very concentrated, because if you make mistake, Duolingo stops functioning for 3 hours or something like that, and then you need to get some hearts and love and things. So if you don't pay, on the other hand, it is not easier, but it can be very fun because you oblige, if you want to do your 15 minutes a day, not to make mistakes. Otherwise, Duolingo say, "Ooh, you made a mistake. I'm sorry for you. Try next time."
Yeah, and one student agrees with you. They learned more with the free version. And there's a question, how much time do you spend per day?
Allora, Duolingo suggests the 15 minutes. That's the idea, no? With 15 minutes a day, you can learn such and such, such and such. So definitely it is much more important in language acquisition in general, the continuity versus quantity. So I think that 15 minutes a day is a good thing if you do it every day. If you do 30, it's fine too, okay? But you can start with 15, but every day, okay? And even better at the same time of the day. So it becomes a routine for you.
And Gray, what were you gonna add?
Okay, I was also going to suggest Rosetta Stone is great. Also, I was doing some brainstorming, and if you are watching any TV shows or movies this summer, put those in Italian subtitles. Also, you should go get, if you want an Italian phrase book at a library, or a great way to connect to your host families before you go see them. Reach out to your host siblings if you have them and ask them to send their Spotify playlist or Apple Music playlist of Italian songs. And so then you can already know the songs before you get there, and all the Italians will be so impressed. So that could be just some good advice.
Wow, that is phenomenal. Is there anything you wish you had done language-wise maybe they're among the things you just said, that if you could do it again, you would do?
I would have started now, really. I would have reached out to my host. I'd ask for the music. I'd start listening to podcasts too in Italian. You can find those on Spotify and Apple Music, because the sooner you delve into it, the better it's going to be long-term. You're also speaking about safety. If you have the confidence to have the language, then safety is another thing. When you're independent traveling, you have that confidence to walk down the street and have the language in and out of your ear. So really, the sooner, the better, I think.
Fantastic. And that's really something very important. Let's go back to safety. In the last couple of years, we've had two branches of safety. One is COVID safety and one is general safety that we've always had. I want to say a word about COVID. I think we're all sort of COVID numb, and yet infections continue here. The severe infections are very low. Hospitalizations are very low, and ICU admits are very low. But there were more infections today. Warren, did you look at the numbers? I saw 65,000 yesterday. With a 21.5 infection rate for the swab. So it seems like it is still spreading, but it is not as serious, especially if you are vaccinated and boosted. We have a dear friend who is an infectious disease doctor who is, Linda, is he better now? Is Stefano still in isolation?
Still in isolation, and his wife got it, but they're fine. They just it's the symptoms are much fewer right now, and so he's on his way out to feeling better.
He told me a month ago, before he got sick, that it was his opinion that getting it now would be like another booster, since the vaccine is waning in terms of its effectiveness, and given that there's so few immediate complications, they're still not sure about the long-term complications, but then he ended up getting it because the thing is so contagious. I will say that until September 1st, you still must wear an FFP2 mask on all public transportation. That is the one requirement. It gives me great pleasure to say that you will be flying without the requirement of needing to prove a negative test. And if it stays the way it is, you'll be flying back to the United States without having to prove. That added a logistical wrinkle that just was, when you multiply it by 50 students, quite complicated. It's really feels like freedom to know that you don't have to do that. So whether you, I don't know what the rule is on international flights, and I don't know that it's instructive to even look right now. Daniele, do you know what the rule is on the international flight with the summer program coming in tomorrow?
Sorry, Father, miss last sentence.
Do you know what the rule is for masking on an international flight?
Well, I only know that it's required for public transportation,
Yeah.
but I don't know for international flights.
Okay, so when we're closer to the date, we'll have an idea what that is. Thank you. What I really wanted to hit on is general safety. Linda and I have 4 children, and we think that safety is the #1 thing about our own children. So you parents listening right now, students listening right now, I will tell you that we have rules. The rules are designed to keep us safe and keep our learning community really vibrant. But those rules are, very much enforced. Andre mentioned il passaporto. So you'll have a class in your learning management system. We use Canvas, as you know, that is outside of any class meeting time. It gives you chores. Do you remember what you had to do, Andre, just as some samples? You want to talk about the kinds of things that they could prepare for?
Yeah, I remember like document checks. You had to have a copy of your passport on you at school, and Roberta, she would come up and say, Andre, like, I don't know where, you have no idea, where's your passport? Let me see it. And then you got a check. And then you had to have Mr. Scanlon and Eleonora would call you during a certain period during the day you didn't know, you had to answer. I'm trying to think what else.
As you're thinking, I will let you know that that's not an academic exercise. Our students, the rule in Europe is that you can be asked for your documents without any probable cause. And you need to know that. And so we have you exercise that. In the United States, the rules are different, but you can be stopped. And we have a very sort of dimensione d'uomo, just a very face-to-face culture and community here. And so you do a lot of walking and you're in contact with a lot of people. If you come from a big city like New York or Chicago, it's very similar in a small version of that. If you're from the West, like I am, we spend a lot of time in your car and you don't have a lot of foot traffic. Here, it's a foot traffic city. And we've had our students stopped and they say, let me see your documents. One of our students was stopped this year because the police were actually looking for someone who fit his description. And they stopped him and he was able to show who he was, and they complimented him for his Italian and let him go. Now, there's a question here. Can it be a copy of your passport? Should it be the passport itself? We'll go into that very specifically. I'll tell you right now. If you're in Viterbo, we've allowed just the copy of the passport. But whenever you leave Viterbo, when we move the school, or if you're on independent travel, or you're on a day trip, you must have your original passport with you. Okay. So that and the telephone. The telephone, like I say, is crucial to us. And it's not just because we are in another generation and we use the telephone. The telephone is crucial because it's immediate. And if you don't answer, I did a phone check. We did a phone check a couple of times that said, you have 30 minutes to call me back or else you'll be disqualified from independent travel. And we tested it out that way. And there are times all throughout the year where I have an urgent need to reach you. We will use Slack, which is you are training on right now. And when Slack is not immediate enough, we pick up the phone. And when Slack is not immediate enough for you, students, you pick up the phone. So get used to using the phone because it's very, very important to be able to have that here. And so when you get here, you should come with the best thing is an unlocked phone. And Gray, how did you do it? How did you get?
I had a SIM card that I went with my host family to get at the shopping mall in Viterbo, and then I just popped it into my phone, and then I did the same when I came back. So that was really easy to do.
Okay. So I think we flew out to Italy a few weeks ago. John writes from the States, masks were not required on the plane. So that's also good enough to have to do a transatlantic flight with a mask. I will be sending regular updates from this desk right here throughout the year, more frequently at the beginning and probably arriving at about monthly in the spring, that tells you how things are going, gives you the perspective of us and how things are going, so that you'll get some real life updates with some photographs and things throughout the way, parents, so you can stay in touch. We use Blackbaud to communicate with the official notes and emails and things like that. And you should be using the Blackbaud system through enrollment anyway, so you know how that works. Allora, I want to thank everyone for coming today and coming in for a soft landing in this nice little Kahoot that we did. These are all kinds of little nuggets that you'll be familiar with at the end of next year. We're really grateful that you could make it. Tom, did you have any closing remarks for us?
Yeah, I just want to add the thanks that you're saying right now, and the thank you to the students for having the courage and the excitement to join us for the coming academic year. We're really happy to have you. And I want to say a very special thanks to the parents, because I know you're sharing your children with us. And as you can tell by the adults on this Zoom today, that they're going to be in great hands. And so the final thanks go to our team over in Italy, a very special group of educators and wonderful people. So thanks one and all.
Thank you all. We'll be getting a notice about the August 25th webinar. That'll be really pointed toward all aspects of departure. In the meantime, buon estate, buono studio. Make sure you're doing your Canvas and Slack orientation, and we will see you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao ragazzi. Ciao.
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 Buona
Ciao,
giornata.
Andrei.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ok.
Ciao, Ingrid.
Ciao, grazie per tutto.
Ciao Andrea.
Grazie
Era
a
molto
te, ciao.
divertente. Era molto divertente.
Facci
Grazie.
sapere di te. Ciao, ciao a tutti.
Andrei,
speciale.
torna presto a trovarci.
Sì, lo so.
Sì.
so.
Vieni presto.
Il prossimo anno io volevo.
Bene.
Brava, ti
Non vediamo
aspettiamo.
l'ora.
Speriamo bene.
Ciao, ciao.
Ragazzi, buonanotte e buongiorno. Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao Erika.
Oh,
Ciao, quella do.
ciao,
Erika.
tutto bene? Ti vedo bene. Ciao. Ciao a tutti. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Comunque, se potremmo godere la sera, ricominciamo. Adesso riordiniamo.